Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Leswing. I'm with the Bureau of Student Wellness at the New Hampshire Department of Education. We're going to get started in just a moment or two. We'll wait for people to catch us and log in. In the meantime, I just wanted to remind everyone to make sure you like us on our social media channels. We are at NH Student Wellness on Facebook and at NH Schools on Twitter. We are also tagging everything that we are doing during this time of remote learning with the hashtag NH Learns Remotely. We have our sessions every morning at 9 and in the afternoon at 3 p.m. So I'm going to give folks just another second or two to join. If you'd like to introduce yourself in the comments or ask any questions, we would love to connect with you. All right, so I think I'm going to get started. As I said, my name is Catherine Leswing, and I'm with the Bureau of Student Wellness at the New Hampshire Department of Education. Thank you for joining us today for our morning coffee chat. The goal of these sessions is to provide caretakers, parents, educators, really all New Hampshire citizens, and anyone really who would like to tune in, a place to ask questions, to say what's working, and to connect with each other during this unprecedented time. Our hope at our bureau, the Bureau of Student Wellness, is to give you the support that you need right now to ensure your own well-being and that of your students. So our morning coffee chat today is called Expectations and Boundaries During Remote Learning. Now, doesn't that sound fun and exciting? When I hear that title, I'm not so sure that I feel like that's fun and exciting. But while setting clear expectations and boundaries might not be the flashiest sounding title or sound like the best way to spend your day at home, having boundaries and expectations in place can really help your days go smoother as you use them for guidance with you and your family. So today I'm going to share 6 suggestions for some guidelines you can implement with your learner that will help everyone hopefully work together and have more fulfilling days at home. And then before we jump in, just a reminder, I said this earlier, but if more folks are listening now, we have our morning coffee chats every weekday mornings at 9 a.m. And then again at 3 p.m. we're hosting our afternoon bell sessions. And these sessions will really just give folks the chance to connect, ask questions, and hear a few tips on how to stay well during these unusual times. I know for myself, it's each day presents its own new challenges and also somehow this feeling of sameness. So we're here for you. The second thing is I just wanted to again point your attention to the comments box. We hope these sessions will be as interactive as possible, so please type any questions or comments that you have into the comments box. So to get us started today, I posted the question, have you already set expectations for your learners for your school and home life? How about boundaries? And what is working for you? So if you have an answer to those questions, we would love to hear from you in the comments section, because I think we can really all use each other to learn in these times. I'll just share a little bit about what I've been doing in my household. I'm at home with my husband and my 1-year-old son, and we are both teleworking full time, and we're also kind of splitting the care for our son. So we've created our own workspaces, completely separate workspaces. I'm in the fine living room, as you can see here, and he's upstairs in a bedroom with a desk. So we have our own workspaces, and we have also laid out our on hours and our off hours, and we try to stick to those throughout the day. But with the key to really all of these things is great communication. You know, constantly, maybe not constantly, but regularly revisiting the expectations, what's working and what's not, and keeping those communication lines open. So that's a little bit of my experience so far. And without further ado, let's get into setting some expectations and boundaries for school kids at home. So the first suggestion that we have for you today is to invest students by having them help create the expectations for learning time and home time. I know for me as a classroom teacher, this was super important. Having students feel like they're helping to set their expectations can be helpful not just for you, but also for them. So, and the reason that it plays out that way is that students feel an ownership when they have helped create those guidelines. So when a boundary gets crossed or an expectation is not met, you can have a conversation and say, "Hey, we came up with this idea." I also kept expectations very simple. When I was in the classroom, it was take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of our school. And then we worked together to come up with examples of what those looked like. So keeping it's simple and having students give their input, I think, is a really nice suggestion. The second one kind of goes along with that, which is to focus on the do's instead of the don'ts. So framing behavior expectation positively will create a warmer environment. It allows students to feel like they are in a positive and embracing environment rather than a place where they have lots of rules and restrictions set on them. And then the third suggestion is to, once you've sat down with your learners and kind of gone over these expectations, is to post them someplace that everyone can see. And again, it's great if you can keep them short, so it's not a laundry list of all the boundaries and expectations for the household, but a short and sweet list that you can maybe post in your kitchen, and everyone sees them as needed, and you can reference them too. I find that having it and you can see, it's like, oh yeah, we did do that and we did agree to that. So when those conversations or conflicts come up, as they will in these times, you can turn back to them and reference them. Number 4 is to set your own personal boundaries and model them. And I think that's a particularly challenging one in these times, because when we're stretched thin or feeling extra stressed out, we sometimes can get worn down, and holding ourselves to that same personal boundary over and over again, day after day, can feel challenging. But one of the most effective ways of teaching boundary setting is to model it yourself. So an easy way to do this is to say no when you're asked to do something that would overtax your schedule. And I think, these days, many of us are feeling overtaxed as we're trying to juggle work and family at the same exact time. Or just, work and personal life at the same exact time. So saying to your learner, no, I can't do that right now, and this is the reason why, and explaining to them that it's not personal, but it's really just, it's a personal boundary that you've set for yourself, and that it would overtax you to say yes. Number 5 is to make it about you and then explain the why behind the boundary, which is really ties into number 4. So this one is going back and saying, this is my boundary and this is why it's in place. And that, again, will teach your learner to model that behavior. And last but not least is number 6, and this one can be a tough one. And it is letting students feel the impact of a crossed boundary. If we're parents or caregivers, we know that students and our children will cross boundaries from time to time. And it's our job to hold them to the standard that they're going to not cross those boundaries, or to learn not to cross those boundaries. So if we cross someone's boundary, including our own children's, it's a good practice to say, I'm sorry, I crossed your boundary and I shouldn't have, and how can I make it right? And on the same token, when they cross a boundary, explaining to them that they have, and then holding them to it. So, for example, if you promise video games once schoolwork is complete, but your student doesn't complete the schoolwork, try to hold them to it and not allow the video games. This one is really tricky now that we're all in close quarters, and behavior can be. I don't want to say volatile, but behavior can, when we have sort of extreme behaviors in the household, it can feel really, really difficult and challenging. And sometimes the temptation is to give in. But ultimately, if we're in this for the long haul, it's good practice to try and say, nope, you crossed that boundary, and this is the consequence. So I hope some of these tips might have been helpful for you. We would love to hear what's working for you in the comments section. Please feel free to share these videos widely. They're meant to be helpful tools for all of us during this time. And as we close today, I'd like to lead us in another grounding relaxation technique. So I know, as I mentioned, that living in close quarters can make us feel that we have a lack of boundaries in our lives. So what I propose is that we do a quick mindfulness exercise. I want all of us to think of a person in our lives who has made us feel respected and valued. So once we have that person in mind, what we're going to do is, for 20 seconds, we will imagine what it feels like to be in the presence of that person. I'm going to time us for 20 seconds. So once you have this person in mind and you can really imagine what it feels to be in their presence, how you feel when you're being respected and when people are respecting your boundaries, you can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and then we will just imagine what that feels like for about 20 seconds. We can start now. Nice. I was trying to count in my head, and I don't know if it was longer or shorter. Anyhow, by doing this activity, it just reminds me how I like to be treated and what healthy boundaries are for me to set. And it also reminds me of how I want to treat others. So especially for those who are under the same roof as me right now, it's a good reminder that that boundaries help us all maintain the levels of respect and guidelines, and especially for students who are now learning at home, eating, sleeping, doing schoolwork, all in the same place. So thank you for tuning in today. Again, be sure to like us and follow us on our social media channels. We are at NH Student Wellness on Facebook, at NH Schools on Twitter, and we are tagging everything #NH Learns Remotely. And we will be back here again live this afternoon at 3 p.m. Be well, everybody.